All right, so we're just waiting for YouTube and Zoom to sync up together, and we'll be live any second if we're not already. There we go. I think we're good to go. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Internet. Hello, Zoom. Hello, everybody. I'm Alex.
I'm Lee. It's good to be back.
Guess who's back? Back again.
Indeed. I'm very much not Slim Shady though, Alex. How have you been? Let's do a little like standard podcast banter before we get into the questions. How have you been? What's new with you?
October was a busy month here at Tailscale Towers. We had all things open. In fact, I saw an awful lot of you over the
I
October
know we spent a
period.
lot of time together, haven't we? It's been
Um,
great.
all things open in Raleigh. I think we both gave talks, and
Yeah. I didn't give a talk, but I was manning the booth as you
oh,
do.
that's right. Yeah, you gave a talk last year. That's right.
That's right.
Um, and then we had our company offsite in Cancun. It was pretty cool.
Did you see the Reddit thing where somebody was like, "Has anybody taken the Tailscale taxi service at Cancun?" I thought that was one of the funniest things I've
Yeah,
ever seen. Like the
Tailscale's
fact that our
tunneling.
logo is recognizable to the general public coming out of Cancun Airport. I was really hopeful that just random fans would turn up to our offsite. But yeah, I thought that was very entertaining.
Lee, I'm getting a couple of comments that your audio is a little low. Are you able to turn up your microphone at all?
Yes, is that better? Hopefully that's better.
Yeah, I'm sure the commenters will let us know. Um, yeah, it was interesting. Like Tailscale's tunneling people now, not just packets from the airport. I
Yes.
thought that was funny.
Yes, indeed. And then we had, for some of us, we had KubeCon Atlanta straight after that. So we were on the road for a little while. We had a really
Yeah.
great KubeCon. And then the journey continues. We've got AWS reInvent next after Thanksgiving, and then I'm going to be in Europe for a couple of weeks in the middle of December. Which I have to shill something if that's okay with you, Alex.
Yeah, go ahead.
I am doing what I believe is one of the first ever hands-on workshops in London. So we got a big 50-person room. Another colleague will be joining us who's recently joined us from the customer support engineering team, so like the post-sales side of the house. And we'll actually be doing hands-on like how to use Tailscale in Amazon Web Services. So I have a link. Hopefully our trusty marketing background person can share this in all of the relevant places. But you can RSVP to it. It's like a 3-hour workshop, hands-on, on a Tuesday afternoon, which sounds way better than going to work. And then a 2-hour happy hour where we'll have people kind of join and we can kind of talk about what we learned and all that kind of stuff. We already have like a big attendance going on, but I would love to see some folks who are, excited about using Tailscale at work join us as well. If you are already familiar with Tailscale at home, I think this is a good opportunity to kind of see some of the things that Tailscale can do at work. So let us know if you can join it. I'd be excited to see some people there.
Indeed, it would. Still getting a couple of comments about your audio being a little low, if
Let me
possible.
turn that up. Let me turn that up. I've just turned the gain up quite a bit.
Yeah,
So
that's much
hopefully
louder
that's
for
good.
me, so hopefully that's better for everybody else too.
And apologies to everybody. I just said to Alex, I have not sat at this desk for 3 weeks. So I don't know if anything actually works properly at this point. So I appreciate everyone's patience while we figure this stuff out.
For what it's worth, I can hear you just fine. So, but then I'm not the important one. I suppose the
That
audience is
everybody
the
else needs to hear me.
important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah,
Much
hopefully
better
people
is
can
the
join us
comment.
on. Oh, excellent. Hopefully, people can join us at this workshop and happy hour. If you can't attend the workshop because it's during your working hours, come along to the happy hour, right? Like free drinks. I mean, who wants to turn down free drinks and free food? But we're looking forward to seeing a bunch of folks there.
Have we got a landing page for said event?
Yes, let me share it. I shared it in the Zoom chat, but I know there's the YouTube chat as well, so it's in the
Oh
Zoom
yeah.
chat. And yeah,
Let's do some housekeeping for just a split for just a moment. Yes, there are multiple places you can join us today. YouTube, of course, is just one of them. If you want to post your questions in the YouTube chat, our back end producer Lauren today will hoover up those questions and put them into a doc for us. Also, if you're joined via Zoom, there is a specific Q&A button, which is separate from the chat button for whatever reason. And we will do our best to get to the Q&A stuff in the Zoom side as well through the same method. So please use the Q&A button if you're on Zoom and the YouTube chat if you're on YouTube. Little pluggy plug as well. Today at 2 p.m. or is it 1 p.m.? I should know this. Eastern, 2 p.m. Eastern, on our Discord server, we are doing a Kubernetes Home Lab cluster giveaway with Techno Tim of YouTube fame. The three B-Link mini PCs and a little mini rack featured in his latest sponsored video that we did with him a few weeks ago about home labbing and Kubernetes and how you can use the Tailscale operator and all that good stuff. So come join us over on discord.gg/tailscale in about an hour and a half as we record, and enter the giveaway for your chance to win.
I really wanted to join this giveaway, and then they told us that employees are not allowed to do that, which
Unfortunately
was,
not. Yeah.
understandable but disappointing is the way that I would describe that. So yeah, I'm now also now trying to figure out if I can expense this Kubernetes cluster for my house, and apparently that's frowned upon as well. So,
Yeah.
nobody wants me to run Kubernetes at home, Alex. I'm very disappointed by this.
I was actually speaking with Raj yesterday, who is one of the SEs on your team, Lee. I don't know what I'm telling you. I'm telling the audience that. I know you know that Raj is on your team. And he was talking me through his Kubernetes home lab, and boy, howdy, is that a crazy over-engineered setup he has over there. Like,
It's production ready, for his house.
it sure
But
is. Yeah.
one of the things that I really encourage the team to do is get as close to production ready infrastructure in our kind of lab environment as you could possibly get, because then, nothing that your customers do surprises you, right? Like, hey, I've got
Right.
this Argo CD deployment mechanism in my house. That's great. But you also understand how that's going to work for a customer who's doing it. So,
Yeah,
and I
completely.
would make the argument that every Kubernetes thing is over-engineered, but that's a different thread to pull at, right? Like,
Before I worked at Tailscale, I was at Red Hat for a few years working on OpenShift, and I kind of grew to hate Kubernetes a little bit in that
mm,
time. Um, just give me in a home lab scenario at least, just give me a Docker file, a Docker Compose YAML, and I'm good.
yes,
I don't need the rest of it, but
agreed,
it
totally
has
agree.
it has its places, I suppose. I mean, there's an entire industry built around it, so clearly somebody thinks it's got value, but
Well, I think I kind of look at Q&As right now as like AI. You don't have to like it, but it's here, right? Like, and it's
yeah.
everywhere and it's here, and you don't have to like it. And there's plenty of people on our engineering team and on my team who well, just don't use that. But like asking customers to completely change their deployment pattern and their entire ecosystem is probably not going to fly. So we just kind of have to get used to it, I'm afraid.
Indeed. All right, let's jump into some questions, shall we? First one is, can I be a part of two separate tailnets at the same time?
No. I think that's probably the easiest answer. However, and there's always a however with these answers, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I would love to understand about this question is like, why do you want to be part of two separate tailnets at the same time? Do you want to be part of your personal tailnet and your work tailnet? Do you want to share machines from one tailnet to another tailnet? Because that's totally possible. Do you want to be able to peer tailnets together so they kind of act like VPCs? Watch this space. That may be something that you'll be able to do in the future. But if the person who asked this question is kind of watching along, I'd love to get more understanding about why you want to kind of join two separate tailnets. You can't currently do that because essentially a tailnet is a distinct unit. You log into Tailscale, you get authenticated to a tailnet, and that's kind of like a network boundary. And then if you want to join the other tailnet, you basically need to switch profiles. It's very easy to do that in the Tailscale client. You can switch between them very, very quickly. So yeah, if there's more context, I'd love to hear a little bit about that. But the answer to that, unfortunately, is no.
I will add that we recently released multi-tailnets as well, which allows you to have multiple tailnets within the same organization. They still remain distinct entities and distinct units. They are just it's kind of like folders, right? It's like kind of
Mm.
like a folder structure. You've got a parent and child relationship. The tailnets can't see each other unless you share nodes between them and all the rest of it. And it honestly is really useful. We've seen some customers use it for dev test prod environments already, just to keep that separation of concerns going. Yeah, interesting. I'd be really interested to hear a follow up on why two separate telnets at the same time. I'd be really curious to hear that.
Yeah, I really like the multi-tenant model, and like one of the things that I kind of think of it from my mental model. If you're familiar with the AWS ecosystem, it's very similar to AWS's organizations. You have an organization, you have accounts in that organization, and a tailnet is part of an organization now. You know, as you can probably imagine, we have plans and ideas in the product space about how that will work in the future as well. But there's customers asking us right now, well, I want to be able to join these two things together, or like share certain services. We just announced services, and like now people want to be able to share those services into other tailnets. And so we got a very exciting like set of plans in this space, which I think is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions now come through around joining nodes to your tailnet and sort of the easiest way to do that. So I'm going to try something new and share a screen. Hopefully I
Love
get this
this.
right. I want a window. I think it's this one. Yeah, okay. Cool. Hopefully now you can see my Tailscale screen right here. So the question is, how do I join a node to a tailnet without having to drop to the command line? Well, in Linux land, it's a little tricky, but there is this button up here which you may have just completely ignored historically. I certainly did for a long time myself. And if you click on this button here, it will guide you through step by step what you need to do. So you can set up a device, you can add tags if you want to. You can see I've got a few tags in my demo tailnet right here. They're defined in my access control policy file. You can select things like, is this an ephemeral node? Is this an exit node? I'm going to say yes to an exit node. An auth key, yeah, let's make that reusable. And then that's going to expire after 7 days. And then I can click on this button here that says generate install script. And then you're given this little one-liner here that you can paste into your terminal, which includes a Tailscale auth key, as well as any of the flags that you selected further up in the interface. And that's a way for you to kind of build the command line command that you need to give to people without having to remember every switch that exists. Like you're guided through the process a little bit here. Also, there is another option for client devices too, where you can just send people a link and have them join. In this case, Mac OS, it'll open the App Store. Android is the same thing. iPhone, right? You get the idea. So there are ways to kind of minimize the command line interaction that you need. To completely remove it though is it's a little tricky.
I think there's a question here around that, around like I'm trying to use an auth key and I get an error.
Yeah,
And I think you've really helped with that. Like for those folks asking a question, if you have an error, please share the error. Like we need to know what the error is in order to be able to help you figure out what's wrong. But I think Alex has basically answered like how do you authenticate a device with an auth key? You can do it all from the console now. It gives you a nice little wizard. So hopefully that helps
indeed.
dramatically.
Yeah. So when members need to log in, they are required to enter a Google Owner Auth credential. How do I allow them to only see certain parts of the Tailscale dashboard without admin control?
So we have like 3 or 4 roles, and I wonder if you are open to sharing your screen, Alex. I don't want to put you on the spot
Yeah, I can do that.
again, but there are various different roles that you have within the tailnet. Admin is the one that, like by default, users get dropped into. And so if you go into the users tab, by default, users get dropped into like an owner role or an admin role, but there's like network admin, IT admin, a whole bunch of other stuff you can see here that Alex is showing you, like a billing admin, auditor. Most people in your tailnet probably only want to be a member, right? Like they just want to connect to things and they don't really need to know a whole bunch of stuff about what's going on. But those roles have different permissions. And so all you need to do as an owner is come into the actual users console here and change the role of that particular user. And there's a great docs page which shows you what is possible for each one of those roles. I think there's been customer requests for like, I want to have custom roles. That is certainly something that we are considering. And if you are interested in being able to add custom roles, please feel free to, send us a support ticket or reach out to your account executive to ask to kind of register your interest in that. But that's basically the answer to that question is like, what you allow them to see. It's all kind of documented here. So again, I appreciate you sharing your screen to show that, Alex. It's helpful.
And if you are only a member, you won't get some of these options just won't show to you. You may not even be able to have permission to list the nodes in the tailnet, depending
Mhm.
on what's there. You might see your node show up, but you may not see everything else as well. So it can be quite granular if you need it to be. using the roles that Lee talked about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely
Cool.
motoring through these questions today. Look at this.
Yeah. Okay. Can we prevent users or machines from seeing each other's IPs?
So again, I always like to kind of ask the question behind the question. I would love to know if the person who asked this question is watching, if they could update us on why. I always like to know why because generally there's probably a better answer. But to answer the question explicitly, there's two IPs that you basically have, or two sets of IPs that you really care about on a Tailscale client. The first is the IP address that has been handed out to the Tailscale telnet, which is out of the carrier grade NAT space. If you want to communicate with that Tailscale device, you need to know its IP. That's a basic layer 3 thing that you have to be able to kind of to know. And then secondly, there's what we call the endpoints, which is the IP addresses that that particular device is reachable over the public internet. And so we create a WireGuard tunnel between those like public IP addresses. And I think in a very kind of paranoid world, it would be very reasonable for you to not want to have those IP addresses advertised to everything in your telnet. You can use ACLs to restrict which devices you can access, or you can actually turn off like device visibility, which is kind of a security via obscurity method. But ultimately, you need these IPs to be able to communicate, so you can't hide them, right? I think that the answer is no. But again, as with all no answers, like what are we trying to achieve here by hiding the IP addresses? Like, is this to make you feel safer? Is this something? Is there another reason behind that? Like, there may be a better way of solving that problem if we can get an understanding of why. And so, if you're watching this and you are asking questions, please ask the questions. And if you can, add a little bit of context on why and what you're trying to do because I hate saying no to people. And if I have a little bit of context, we can actually understand what you're trying to do, and maybe there's a better way.
Indeed. Speaking of context, we have a bit more on that first question about two separate tailnets at the same time. And to answer this a little further, it says, I'm an Apple developer working on advanced AI. I only want certain machines to see one tailnet's worth of devices, and the second tailnet would be everything else. And this also dovetails nicely into is it possible to hide network devices in the Tailscale UI so that they don't show up? There's kind of like two things at play there.
Yeah, so the first question I think sounds like one of our upcoming Telnet sharing features, and I think sharing would likely, like the current sharing model allows you to kind of solve this problem by being able to add a device to another Telnet. The limitation that we currently have on Tailscale on Telnet sharing is that it can only be done by a device that's logged in as a user, not a tagged device, which is kind of limiting for a lot of these what we're now calling machine-to-machine use cases. And so we have features planned in the future that will change that. And this sounds like a pretty interesting kind of use case, and we would love if this person wouldn't mind reaching out to our sales engineering. It's se@tailscale.com with a little bit more context. We'd love to kind of get together and have a chat with you about what you're trying to solve here, because I think this will influence our product roadmap. So very exciting, and excited to kind of help you there. On the hiding devices in the UI, the way that this currently works is if you can access, like if you have an ACL that allows you to access a specific device, it will show up in the Tailscale UI, right? So most Tailscale telnets have the default ACL implemented, which is like wide open, allow anything. And you have to kind of scope it down so that you can actually restrict who can access what. And that's by design, right? Like if you can communicate with a node, you should be able to see it in the UI. There is a flag that you can set, and I don't have it to hand, but I will look it up. There is a flag that you can set that will hide those devices, even if you can communicate with them. But that is very much security via obscurity, right? Like you're just hiding something from people's site, and it's mainly used as like a corporate mechanism to like hide certain things that are like subnet routers that would like confuse users, right? So let me see if I can find the flag. But yeah, you can totally do this with ACL or with the actual like flag or like hide devices. My recommendation is to um, my recommendation is to scope your ACL to things that you can only communicate with, right? Like that's the correct way to do this.
Make liberal use of grants. Yes, I think is
Exactly.
the short
Yes.
version. I found out quite by accident the other day because I thought Tailscale was by default deny all. However, if you don't specify a grants stanza in your, even an empty one, in your ACL file, it's not. So make sure you're being explicit in defining at least an empty stanza.
Well, there's a pretty reasonable product reason for that as well, right? Which is basically like if you sign up to Tailscale as a new user and we did deny by default, you wouldn't be able to communicate with anything and it would look like it was broken, right? Like you would be in a really terrible position where everything was like not communicative. And so this is a product decision we've had to make because we want our people to have a good user experience. And like this should be a explicit choice that people make to opt in. I did share the system policy that will allow you to hide network devices in the Zoom chat. Hopefully, our trusty backend producer Lauren will be able to share that in YouTube as applicable. But that is the way to do that. But ACLs and grants, as Alex said, is the way to do this, in my opinion.
Indeed. So I currently have Tailscale on my OpenSense router at various sites. I have four in total. How should I create site-to-site connections with either advertised routes or exit nodes to allow all machines to connect to all machines?
I feel like we have this question a lot. It comes up quite often. And I'm like wondering if there is something that we can do to kind of proliferate this knowledge around. The answer to this question is it's a network problem, right? Like you have an OpenSense router and you install Tailscale, and Tailscale is now advertising when you make it a subnet router, it's telling the rest of the tailnet how to communicate with the things behind the subnet router. But you then have to be able to tell the things behind the subnet router how to get into the tailnet and how to see all the other routes. And so the way to do that is to update your network's route tables to say, hey, if you want to reach this particular set of devices or this particular subnet, then you need to go through me, the Tailscale subnet router. And it's more of a network engineering problem than it is a Tailscale problem. I saw in our Discord today, it was a very classic like home lab thing of like, I want my TV to be able to communicate with Tailscale. The easiest way to solve that problem is to install Tailscale on all the devices because that will update the network route table for you. But TVs don't let you do that, and it may be the case in this particular case with OpenSense that like there's things behind it you don't want to install Tailscale on. So basically, you probably have something, it may be your OpenSense router that is basically sending routes out via, whatever network mechanism you're using. Update the route tables to point to that particular thing, and you should be good to go. I wonder if me and you could do a little YouTube video on this, Alex, that we could point people to. I
We
think that would be
absolutely
super
should.
useful. Yeah.
Jay was threatening to work with me on one as well. So between the three of us, I think we should be able to get it taken care of, don't you?
I would hope so. That's a lot of knowledge there, isn't there? Like there's three very talented people in that room. So I'm calling myself talented. That's not very British of me. But
For
yes,
your
we should
Yorkshire.
definitely be able to solve that problem. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because there are a ton of devices that can't run Tailscale. And so, the mental model that you typically have is packets coming in. So like I want to be able to reach a printer or a coffee pot or something that can't run Tailscale remotely, you would just use a subnet router. But when you want to flip the script and have the packets go outbound, you need a way, as Lee just said, but you need a way to tell the coffee pot, well, when you want to reach this subnet, this is the route to get there. And that's really the gist of it. So hopefully that answers your question. And with OpenSense, I know you can publish static routes and all that kind of stuff pretty easily. So hopefully will be a trivial video for us to make.
I will offer part of my solutions engineering team. My guess here is that unless you are kind of crazy home labbing here, that you probably are doing this as part of a corporate rollout. That's why we're here. I know that people hate talking to sales. I get it.
Yeah.
Talking to sales is a miserable experience for in a lot of situations. I bought cars. I don't want to talk to salespeople. I just want a car, right? Like, we're not here to make your life miserable on the sales team here at Tailscale. We're here to help you. And so please feel free to reach out to us. I would love to talk to you about how we can help here. I have an entire team of solutions engineers that is ready to help. And also, the more people who ask for help, the more people I can hire. So like that, I have a vested interest in solving some of these problems.
Indeed. Now, follow-up question. It says I didn't quite follow what you said about inviting machines or inviting people. Can I just send them a link to join the Tailnet? Yes. So you want to add device, you get a client device up here in the top corner, and then you can copy a link for their operating system. So let's say Synology. I can copy a link and send them this link, and in this case, it will take them to okay, a K-base article, not that helpful. This one on Linux, though, will take them to the install script, and on Windows, it would take them to the download page, that kind of thing. So that's about as close as you can get to it being fully automated, and I hope that helps
And then
answer
I
your
think if you go
question.
to the users tab as well, you can actually send them an invite link for authentication. So invite external users. There you go.
Indeed. Yep.
And you can even invite them by email. I wanted to do an April Fool's, which was like invite user via mail, and it like literally mailed you a QR code via post. I thought that'd be so funny. I'm still not ruling that out.
Via post or get?
I mean, both. Why not? Like, smoke signals. We do a QR smoke signal that comes out of Vancouver or something.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to some more questions. Could you do some more videos on how to integrate Docker containers with Tailscale? The only thing that has got me is the ports. Uh, Sorted now, but more videos on this topic would be appreciated. I feel like I do too many Docker videos, actually. So this is surprising to me to read. Maybe 18 months ago, I did a huge blog post article and like 45-minute long diving into the innards of the Linux kernel networking and how Docker kind of integrates with that. So I'd be really curious to know what you want to see in terms of Docker that I haven't already covered, because part of my part of my reluctance to just straight up say yes to you in the answer to this question is I feel like it's a subject I've beaten to death already, and I don't want to bore people with the same thing over and over. So please tell me, what would you else specifically would you like to see?
The theme of today seems like context, right? Like
Yeah.
broad Docker videos, I think very much covered. Like if is there something specific on Docker that you would like to know? Like, how the ports work, like something along those lines. We can definitely put content out that's more specific, I think, right? Like or like more teaching moments, I would say.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah. And to that note as well, there was a question in here. I can't see it right now, but it was something to do with when is the video coming out about replacing TSD proxy with Tailscale services? Not not soon. I know I hinted in the video that it would be really soon, but it turned out that things didn't work quite the way I thought they worked when I made that statement. So I'm working with Kabir on our product team to actually make that more of a first class experience. I can't share too much on that yet because we're going into the holidays and who knows what's going to happen in terms of roadmap. But as soon as we have something worth sharing, you can bet that we will. So generally speaking, my silence isn't that I've forgotten; it's just that it's not quite fully cooked yet.
Yeah, we are very good at getting things out in getting things into the hands of people. And so as soon as we have something for you, we will get it out to you. And Alex is like a machine with the YouTube videos. He turns them around. How do you edit things so quickly? I genuinely would love to see like how you do this, because I've tried to edit things and I just get frustrated and give up in like 5 minutes. So
Yeah,
it's a special skill.
Final Cut Pro helps a lot. Honestly, it's I've got a few presets that I use to like the little talking head on the side thing. Like I'm not doing it from scratch every time. I've got workflows where like I'm recording to an external SSD and then I put that in the computer behind me, and like so I'm removing any networking prop, like it's all just local
Mm.
USB file transfers, and then just Final Cut and keyboard shortcuts and liberal use of 2x speed during the edit. So
That's the way to do it. While we're on the
yeah.
subject of Alex's talents, there's a great question here. Does Alex play drums? I saw them on a video. Do you play the drums, Alex?
I do, yeah. I was originally a classically trained musician. Um, I played the euphonium at university, if you're interested. But drums
I'm
is
very
always
interested. I want to hear way more about this, but I don't know if people signed up for it.
no, I
Yeah.
don't think so. Yes, I play the drums. I am a student at the University of like Danny Carey and Matt Gartzker and Simon Phillips and Gavin Harrison. That's my kind of jam. So if you know who those people are, good on you. But
I do indeed. I'm actually going, assuming I feel well enough, I'm actually going to go see The Darkness tonight. So,
really, oh
classic British band, you know.
yeah, from lower
So we'll
staff.
see how. Well, yeah, exactly. And I'm also now thinking, I bet we could have a Tailscale band. Like, I
Oh,
bet there's enough
100%.
musicians that we could have a Tailscale band. I'm looking forward to, watching that materialize. Anyway, back to questions, why people are here. Were there any outages due to Cloudflare or other today? I experienced some issues. This is a pretty sensitive topic for us. I think I'm going to address it in a way that is as sensitive to the nature of these outages as I can. The first thing I want to say is outages to our control plane. We totally understand and recognize how painful they are for our users, right? The client is designed in such a way that if the Tailscale control plane is down, communication between those clients will continue to work. However, you cannot add nodes, you cannot log in to new nodes, you can't use a bunch of things that are based on our API, and we recognize how painful that is. We have not had any outages as a result of any other provider outages in the recent history of our outages, right? Like we are a software organization. Cloudflare is a software organization. Things happen, outages happen. It's a natural part of running production software. And every time those outages happen, we do a postmortem and we recognize what we can do better and we improve on it. So, I recognize how painful that is. I'm customer facing, and so I get to be the person who does the apology tour in a lot of cases, and goes to customers and talks about how painful it is. But I want to be clear, like we are building a production ready system, and the outages that we've had have been learning experiences from us that we will continue to grow over. So we apologize if there's been any frustration around the outages. We are not pointing the finger at Cloudflare or any other provider, like the huge AWS outage that happened. We are not affected by those. Our engineering is designed to be resilient to those things, but sometimes things happen. That's the way it goes.
And you can go to status.tailscale.com for a real-time picture of what our network looks like. Certainly what our back-end infrastructure looks like.
Yeah, I mean, we're growing. It's worth pointing out we're growing like crazy, right? Like we are growing both from a corporate level in terms of like customers who are trusting us, and like the number of users who are trusting us with their home network is growing almost exponentially. You know, that brings challenges that we are actively working to solve, right? Like, so things will get better in this regard, and we apologize for the frustration and the situation.
Now, I'm going to assume that we've had a few new people join since we started. So I'm going to plug the 2 p.m. today. So it's in 1 hour from now over on our Discord. Myself and Techno Tim of YouTube fame will be giving away a Kubernetes cluster for your home lab. It featured in his recent YouTube video about how you can use the Tailscale operator on top of Kubernetes. And there's, I think, 3B-Link mini PCs in there, a little UniFi switch. It's awesome. It's a little 4U mini rack, the 10-inch guys that, Jeff Geerling and all those guys have been showing on their channels for months. So come join us over on the Discord, discord.gg/tailscale. And you can find me and Tim in the events channel at 2 p.m. Eastern today.
I'm super excited about it. Can't wait to see who wins. I want to see the excellent photo with the thumbs up next to the
That meme of
next to,
like, thanks, happy for
yeah,
you, good
yeah,
job.
yeah. That's exactly how I'm gonna feel. Yeah. I'm very excited for the person who wins that.
Indeed. All right, next question. Magic DNS and certificates are awesome, but I had my internet connection fail once and it's gone. What's gone? The certificate or the DNS? I'm kind of
The
confused.
internet's gone.
Yeah. Is there any chance of designating a local node as a satellite coordination server of sorts for Magic DNS?
I don't understand the
There's a lot in
question.
that question. There's a lot of assumptions in that question. So, Magic DNS is a service that Tailscale offers built into the admin console. And whenever you get a new node map pushed down from the Tailscale coordination server, you will get the magic DNS entries that the Tailnet is aware of refreshed at the same time. Now, each client is running a local DNS server, like a cache of that node map. So in theory, at least, all you'd probably need to do is toggle Tailscale on and off again to make sure that that node map gets refreshed. And that really should be about all there is to it. If anything more nefarious is going on, I would encourage you to open a ticket with our support team over at Tailscale Support, because really, like I say, that the node maps are all pushed locally. So if you're not able to connect anymore, something else is up. And as far as I'm aware, at least, there isn't really a way to do like satellite DNS relays or whatever you want to call them, with Tailscale's Magic DNS offering anyway.
Yeah, and the certificates are issued via the standard Let's Encrypt protocol and are valid for 90 days. So if they're gone, it might have been a coincidence that it expired at that particular time. And the DNS record is basically built into the net map, as Alex said. So like if that's gone, I again need more context here, I think, to understand what's
Indeed.
gone.
Yep.
But yeah, and if you want to run your own coordination server, we have an open source coordination server called Headscale that you can run yourself if you don't want to rely on our control plane. My experience talking to customers is that they don't want that responsibility because our full-time job is running the coordination server, and that's a pretty hefty endeavor in our experience.
All right. So, are there any projects that allow you to redirect external TCP or UDP traffic into a tailnet outside of Tailscale funnel? I would like to redirect traffic from my LAN into my tailnet that isn't public.
Trying to grok this question. Are there projects that allow you to redirect external into the tailnet outside of Tailscale? I think this is a network routing question again. Is this like, hey, I want to route. I think I want to route traffic into the tailnet without having the Tailscale client.
Well, I read external traffic to mean public, like this traffic is originating from the public internet and ingressing to the tailnet. We would provide it through funnel. So you
Yeah, but
could,
then they say I would like to redirect traffic from my LAN into my telnet that isn't public. So like, yeah, I'm wondering if this is more of a network routing thing. That's the
yeah,
way I'm reading it.
like two prongs. Like some services need to be public facing and some don't. So I would say that like funnel is a really good option for that, to put things that were private on the public internet. You can use peer relays to make sure that you're getting direct connections if the reason you're doing that is performance nowadays. But yeah, we probably need a bit more context to give you a full answer on this one, I think.
Indeed. Nice, easy question that comes up all the time. Where can I buy some Tailscale merch, polo shirts, shirts, caps? Our design team has heard this feedback over and over again, and it turns out it's way harder to set up a merch store than you think. So we're working on it. I have my custom made Tailscale soccer jersey on today, that I made myself. So if anybody wants one of those, reach out to me on Discord. I can get you one of those. But yeah, we hear you. Like we want to have people walking around with Tailscale branded merch as much as you do. So please bear with us when we are working on this.
The other thing, of course, is we just announced that our user conference, Tailscale Up, will be returning in August next year in San Francisco. So you can bet your bottom dollar that your admission ticket to that will include some merchandise. Also, if you just want to come find us at an event, if you happen to be at an event that Tailscale's at, we'll give you a t-shirt at least, or some socks, or whatever else Hillary's cooked up on our events team.
I mean, that she's cooking up some amazing stuff, and our brand team is just absolutely incredible, right? Like, I think it was noted it in Cancun last week, but like the fall update art was just outstanding, right? Like, for all of the different blog posts, it was really, really incredible. Okay, the next question, I guess.
Yeah, sure, let's go. I enjoy the command line as much as the next person. I would like to know if there are plans to add an app for Linux similar to Windows and Mac.
I think you might have more context here. So what we generally recommend is there is a web client in the Tailscale client that you can use to configure Tailscale across all operating systems. And you might have more context here, but I believe one of our engineers built like a tray icon. Do you
There is a
know
tray
anything
app.
about
There
that?
is a tray app for Linux now. The issue you've got with Linux is that, for cross uh, window manager, display environment, thank you, desktop environment. It's been a while since I've been in that world. For cross desktop environment compatibility, you're building across 10 different frameworks. So you would need to pick a GTK framework and then upset all the KDE people, or use Qt, or dare I say even something else. Like the trouble with Linux is it's a fragmented ecosystem. So saying that we support Mac is really easy because it's a stable development target. Same for Windows. But Linux is a bit more tricky. So we do have a semi-official Tray app, which I think goes some way towards answering this question, but I don't believe there's like an official window client in the works for Linux for those reasons.
Most people find the web client actually does everything they need to do, right? Like it has all the configuration options there in the web client. You just need to go to Quad 100 and you can see the web client. Now, obviously, the problem with that is it needs to be up and running in order for you to access it. So, like, there's a bit of a chicken and egg problem, but I genuinely find that's probably the right way to do it.
Nicholas is asking, who should we contact on Discord regarding the Tailscale soccer jersey?
That would be L Briggs. So the background here is that I really, really want Tailscale to sponsor a local sports team and get Tailscale on a soccer jersey for an actual like WSL team or a local like amateur team because I think it would be great to support that. And so look at me, he's talking about it on a public YouTube. So our marketing VP of marketing Sydney has to listen to me. But I was like, here's what it would look like. And I have a local printing company that is part of the brewery that I live near. And I was like talking to them on a Friday night, and they're like, yeah, we could totally mock one of those up for you. So if you want one, please let me know. I will get it printed for you. I think they're $20 plus shipping. So if anybody wants one, I am L Briggs on Discord. No
Cool.
promises, just to be clear, no promises, but I'll see what I can do.
Give with one hand and take away with
Caveat,
the other.
I just realized what I'm signing myself up for here. I'm basically going to turn into a drop shipping
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah. L Briggs Fulfillment Inc. That's what it's going to be.
I feel like there's a potential copyright infringement problem going to come along here, but we'll see.
Legal. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. All right. So, next question is, what's the best way to handle DNS for an open sense device that exposes subnets for devices behind the router? I don't want to use the edge entry point.
I don't know the answer to this question because I haven't used OpenSense in nearly 15 years. So unfortunately, this is reaching the limits of my knowledge. I think one of the things that we generally recommend for customers who have more complicated DNS setups is like you can like Magic DNS is there to make your life easier, but it is not there to solve all your DNS problems, right? It's a very simple DNS resolver that allows you to configure upstream resolvers via the console and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's totally fine if you want to turn off Magic DNS in corporate environments or with things like OpenSense and manage DNS yourself. You just need to find a way of registering the clients with your DNS server, and there's a bunch of different plugins for that sort of thing. But I don't know a very easy answer to this question. Again, our solution engineering team is here to help you if you want to kind of engage with us. And maybe, I know that Jay has a lot more experience in this domain and Alan has an open sense router. So, please feel free to reach out to us. But I don't have an answer. I don't know if you have any thoughts there, Alex.
Uh, I think your answer is pretty spot on. I think you would continue to use Unbound, which is the internal DNS for authoritative internal names, and then you can rely on Magic DNS for everything else. So really, it's like a separation of concerns. Your local network still uses OpenSense by default, and then you can use the Magic DNS stuff upstream if you need to.
I'm going to jump to a question here, which I think is a more philosophical question. Can you explain the rationale behind the user limit? No disrespect, but three seems quite low. And while six is probably worth $5, I don't know that it's enough either. $5 a user after that is quite a jump. There's a very easy answer to this. I'm going to come across as quite brusque here, but this is my personal opinion and does not reflect the opinions of Tailscale. We have a business to run, right? Like everybody wants everything for free, but we have engineers like Alex to pay, and we have infrastructure hosting things to pay. And I don't know if anybody's hired engineers recently, but they don't work for minimum wage. And so we have a business to run. Our perspective is that the free tier or the personal tier should be able to support a couple of people in a family. And the personal plus tier should be able to support an extended family for $5. I think that's incredibly generous, right? Like, if you're a large family of 5 to 6 people, you can now get the connectivity that Tailscale provides for $5 a month. If you are over 6 people, that then creates a situation for us where it's a larger tail net. You're getting closer to what we would call a corporate or a business usage. And if you are a corporate or a business usage, my opinion is that you should pay for the connectivity and the ease of use and the productivity that Tailscale brings to the equation, right? If you want to go and build WireGuard yourself, you are totally willing, totally free to do that. But I bet it would cost you more than $5 per user to build it. And I know that because we have customers tell us that on a regular basis. So, you know, again, I'm coming across quite brusque here, and it's worth pointing out that I'm in sales, and this is my personal opinion. But I think we're very generous, and I think that our what we call our go-to-market motion is designed for you to be successful with Tailscale at home, which Alex is one of the primary facilitators of. And then you should enjoy Tailscale so much that you want to bring it to work. And if you bring it to work, I think you should pay us, quite frankly, right? Like we have a business to run and we want to be successful and we want to continue providing a great service. And in order to do that, we have to make money. We can't give this away for free. So again, my personal opinion, I think everybody is free to disagree with me. And I think there's a philosophical argument here. The other side of this as well is if you want to do all this yourself, you can go and run Headscale and that's totally free, right? Like you don't need to pay us a single penny and that's completely open source. So I think we're pretty generous here. And I really hope that people see the value in the product from that. Apologies for the rant, Alex.
No, it's a great topic that's top of mind for us right now, and you can watch out for some announcements at some point in the new year around pricing, but nothing to share yet. Um, I also think that we are it's a tricky one because if you give away, let's say, 10 seats for free, right? That would cover a lot of the small dev team use cases that we are very good at. And it's trying to strike that balance between being useful for the everyday home labber and self-hoster versus making a business out of it, as Lee
Hmm.
said. The other thing you can do is you can kind of game the system a little bit. Nobody's going to come chasing you if you have one tailnet with 1 or 2 users and another tailnet with 1 or 2 users, and you do node sharing between the two. Nobody's going to come chasing you because that's completely within the realm of our free tier right now. So,
And the only overhead there is different authentication, right? Like,
mhm.
so you can totally get a lot of value out of Tailscale. And one of the things that we always think about in pricing is like, we're not going to charge you to do the right thing, right? Like, we're not going to charge you extra to do the right thing. So, very philosophical point here, but I wanted to bring that to the top because it's something that we've heard consistently.
Yeah, it's the standard kind of loss leader mentality for product led growth. Like the free tier costs Tailscale money to operate. Of course it does. As does the R&D and development and all the overheads of running a business. So at some point, that check becomes due. So it's just trying to strike a balance between all of those stakeholders, if you like.
Mm.
We know that the free tier is what got Tailscale to where it is, and believe me, I certainly champion it extremely heavily internally that we are continue to be generous. And there was a lot of concern about enshittification when we raised the Series C round. As long as Avery's at the helm, I am absolutely not worried about that being an issue because his philosophy on how to grow a business, well, you've seen it. So
We're not here to take a couple dollars out of your pocket just to make us. We're not a B2C we're not a B2C company, right? Like we're not Uber and we're not Lyft and all these kind of things that are going to surge price you in times of need. We want you to love the product so much that you take it to work and your work probably has budget for connectivity because you probably already have a VPN. We want you to use something that you actually like using and that you enjoy and that isn't making you miserable and disconnects when you close your laptop and makes you miserable. I've worked at those companies. I'm sure you have as well, Alex.
I'm trying to imagine how surge pricing for Tailscale would even work. I mean, it would be
Data,
hilarious.
data transfer. If you are watching Plex, we send a little notification that says,
Yeah,
"Hey, we think you're sending a lot of traffic right now. Can you pay us more money?" I've thought about it. We're never
yeah,
going to do it. It's just not going to happen.
like the Netflix password sharing notification. Yeah, I get you. All right, should we change the topic a little bit?
Let's do it.
I'm using Tailscale on my Pixel phone with Pi-hole DNS. Half the time when leaving Wi-Fi, I have no data, and I will only regain access to data when I disconnect and reconnect Tailscale. Can this be fixed?
Um, this is a guess. And I'd love to get your thoughts, Alex. But I'm guessing when you connect to Tailscale with Pi-hole, your DNS responses go to the Pi-hole, and your default route can't get you out to the internet. That would be my guess.
I think it's a case of like also when you're changing networks, the node map that we've talked about a few times on this call today, that needs to get updated. And if for whatever reason your DNS settings are precluding you from reaching a DNS server for Tailscale to reach the control server to announce the fact that it's now outside the house, you're in a bit of a chicken and egg problem. So you've got to make sure that some of your upstream DNS servers configured in Tailscale are public ones and not just like
or at
local.
least accessible, right? Like they have to
Yeah.
be accessible when you're on Tailscale. I think you've just kind of twigged something for me. I wonder if the actual Pi-hole is accessible when Tailscale is enabled. Like maybe you need a subnet route, advertised routes enabled to be able to get to the Pi-hole.
Almost
But that would
certainly
be my
that's
guess.
almost certainly that's at play here. Yeah, I would say so. All right. Are there plans to allow an update schedule for Tailscale? Currently, my Raspberry Pi updates Tailscale whilst it's in use versus during a defined schedule that I can define. I presume they're talking about the auto update feature there.
Yeah, I would turn off the auto update feature here and have like a cron job that just does a, you know, apt-get update and apt-get install. If you want it to be done outside of specific hours, that would be my guess here.
Um,
Because the
ac-
auto update will just run when the new package is available, right?
According to our documentation, at least, scheduling of auto updates is not currently supported, and auto updates are automatically scheduled based around each node's activity to minimize disruption. So there you go.
The auto update mechanism just uses the underlying package manager that you currently have. So like on Linux, it would just do a yum install or an apt install. On Windows, it just kind of pulls down the binary and MSI installs. So if you don't like that happening automatically, just turn it off and do it yourself. It's very easy to automate and script. So I would just do it that way. Yeah.
Oh, here's a cursed idea. You could set up a GitHub action using our brand new GitHub action runner that automatically goes around your tailnet on a predefined schedule and does the update for you remotely over
I
Tailscale.
love that idea.
It's cursed.
I have completely abused GitHub Actions cron job, and so I have a little bot that like looks for mentions of Tailscale across like the Fediverse and Blue Sky and a bunch of other different places and Reddit. And I run it every minute in GitHub Actions. It's terrible. Like I
Every
know it's
minute.
absolutely awful. And then every 90 days they say, please turn this off. And I turn it off for a day and then turn it back on again.
Well, I suppose
Um,
compared to all the Copilot usage, it's a drop in the ocean, but
I don't even want to know how much that's costing them. Yeah. But I think doing that with a Tailscale update on a cron job, like in a run every day thing would be definitely. I don't think that's as cursed as you think it is, Alex. I kind
yeah,
of love
maybe
that
not.
idea.
Yeah, we've just redefined like fleet management. There you go. Just do it from GitHub Actions.
It's a workflow engine. It's definitely a workflow engine. Okay, we have 6 minutes left. Should we selectively choose some of these questions? By the way, love all the questions coming in. It's so great to see the engagement here.
Yeah,
But love all the
always.
questions. I'll let you pick one and then I'll pick one.
Oh, will you ever make a tutorial about running Nextcloud with Tailscale as a sidecar? Uh, Maybe, kind of. Like Nextcloud is one of those projects that I want to really love, and I've actually been running it for the best part of a decade, so I guess I do love it in its own special way. But I just find it as a project, and this is Alex speaking. I want to be clear, not Tailscale necessarily. I just find it a little bit slow sometimes, and I kind of wish there was a better solution. So I guess I'm kind of waiting for a better replacement for Nextcloud to make the Nextcloud video. Um, Essentially, though, for Nextcloud AIO, it would just be the same as pretty much any other. You just do the sidecar the same way, and you should be good to go. So I don't know.
Excellent. Okay, my question, I'm going to choose from this list that is available. If I have two exit nodes on Apple TV in different cities, what will the location seen by YouTube TV, for example? Now, I'm going to start this by saying Tailscale does not at all endorse copyright infringement or streaming content outside of your local geography. We do not endorse that. Is it possible? Yes. Do we endorse it? No. But the answer to that question is if you set it as an exit node, your egress point should be the Apple TV. And generally, the provider that you are accessing sees the source kind of like addresses as the exit node. However, providers are understandably wanting to protect their intellectual property, and so they do other things, like they will set a cookie on your browser or on your device accessing to see where you are. They will check your DNS request for their website actually comes from the original place, and so you need to make sure that the DNS request comes from there as well. But again, we do not endorse any sort of like copyright infringement or any sort of like working around provider restrictions and watching sport in blackout zones, which I think in 2025 is asinine, but that's just my personal opinion. But it should see the source, assuming they haven't done anything clever, it should see the source as the exit node.
Indeed. Yep. There's a question here, actually, or more of a comment talking about Tailscale and Rune, which is a self-hosted like music server. I've been trying to make a video about Rune for ages, but it's the packaging of Rune's server component is really janky,
Mm.
honestly, because I really want to reduce my reliance on Spotify. And with Plexamp, they used to have an integration with Tidal, so I could like fill in the gaps in my library with Tidal and Plexamp that way. But they discontinued the Tidal integration in Plex, and so now Rune is pretty much the only self-hosted music server that can integrate officially with a streaming backend. So I'd love to get Rune working. It's also darned expensive. I think a lifetime license is like 800 or 900 bucks, which is,
Oof.
I know it's only a few years worth of Spotify, but still, it's
th- it's not a few years. Is that Spotify $20 a month? That's
yeah,
it's a significant investment, you know.
yeah,
So we've got about 2 minutes left, and there was a comment to our pricing talk around like, hey, well, actually, my work would never let me use Tailscale anyway. And I just have one last thing that I want to share. So this is we have kind of been talking pretty extensively internally about how like difficult it can be for organizations to adopt Tailscale because the people who love Tailscale aren't necessarily the people who have the ability to decide which VPN you use, right? And one of the things that we've realized is that that's probably pretty hard for, I'm a software engineer, I'm a DevOps engineer or something along those lines. And the IT team actually handles a VPN. And so we have some exciting new messaging coming out screen. Hopefully you can see the slide here, Alex.
No, I just see the trees, the forest of trees, I'm afraid.
Oh, it's one day somebody's going to teach me how to use a computer. That's all I really want care about.
Computer hard.
How about now?
Yep, there we go.
Okay. So we have this new messaging coming out where we're kind of focusing on use cases and we're focusing on like what Tailscale can do for you across your organization. And most people think about Tailscale as business VPN, right? Like they think about, hey, I want to connect my users to a bunch of engineering resources. But we have seen organizations solve all these other problems, right? Like edge and IoT. If you have things in the field, sending people to fix them is really expensive. And if you install Tailscale on those devices, you can fix them remotely. Workload connectivity. So like connecting different cloud providers and different data centers. And like we've had a bunch of questions today around like, how do I get stuff from my network into my telnet? This is workload connectivity. CI/CD, like we updated the GitHub action. We did a whole push on a workload federation. CI/CD is our fastest growing use case. So if you're an engineering team and you don't want to look at Tailscale because you don't have any control over the business VPN, I bet you have some CI/CD problems that we can fix. And then, of course, the pillar of our entire kind of workload, our use case is the home lab, where, I want to connect to my things at home. So we're excited about this messaging coming out. I'm personally excited about what this is going to enable people to think about when they think about how they can use Tailscale. And we'd love to feedback on this. Are any of these things something that you are excited to adopt Tailscale in your organization? Because we've also found that once people start using Tailscale for CI/CD, the IT team takes notice and then starts using it for business VPN because you already have a contract and it's way better than your existing solution. So, I'm really excited about that. I love to pitch that at the end here. I appreciate everybody doing and letting me do my sales thing, especially you, Alex, who has to put up with this all the time.
Yeah, I guess that's one way of putting our job. You have to put up with it.
Yeah. Put up with my salesiness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all right. We still love you. But I think we're out of time for today, unfortunately. So I will just remind everybody one more time before we go. Join me and Techno Tim from YouTube in about half an hour. Yeah, half an hour. Crikey. On the YouTube, on the Discord server, discord.gg/tailscale, for a chance to win a HomeLab Kubernetes cluster. All the details will be on Discord, and we'll see you in half an hour. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Alex.
I've been Lee.
It was the two Ronnies. I've been him and he's been me or something.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly.